Welcome, I'm Beth Adams. I own an independent paper crafting business showcasing products from Stampin' Up! I'm not showing you a project today. I am wanting to share something about our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machines. We currently have the big standard Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Love this machine. And we have the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. We used to carry an older style machine, and we no longer sell this one. But I brought mine out today because I want to talk about what you can do with each of the machines and how to use them, and especially wanting to talk about embossing folders. My friend asked me to make a cheat sheet, and I realized you don't really need a cheat sheet. The cheat sheet is already here, but there is one reason why you might want a cheat sheet, and so I have made one, and I'll talk to you about each element here. All three of these machines can be oriented any way that is convenient for you. They don't require any electricity, and that's great. This machine originally came with a multi-purpose platform that had tabs. All of these have little cheat sheets on them. This machine came with a multi-purpose platform and 2 clear cutting plates. When this machine came out, we had really thick, they called them Biggs dies, and you didn't use this platform at all. But then they came out with these thin dies. I'm going to turn it around so that the hinge is going in first. You never do any die cutting on the platforms themselves. You use a clear cutting plate. So when the dies go all the way through the cardstock, it's cutting this clear plate and not your platform. Stampin' Up! Has all kinds of dies these days. We have very detailed dies. And we also have these outline dies. And I'm going to just show you how these work with this old platform. By the way, if you still have this machine, you can buy our clear plates, and they do fit. So I'm going to roll it through. Any popping or cracking they do, totally normal. And so these pieces pop out. But this one, these detailed dies really don't pop out very easily. In fact, that one didn't go all the way through. And so I would go back and forth, and sometimes even use a shim. And if you do take it off, don't worry. Just set it into place and kind of slide it over until it fits in its position. And go back through a second or a third time. You can also use a shim, and a shim is really any extra layers that you might want to add. So if I was having trouble cutting in this middle section, I would put another cardstock underneath the bottom cutting plate to add a little bit of thickness. And go through again. And some of my dies I was going through lots of times. This looks like it finally did cut all the way through. Didn't even have to poke, so that's a good thing. And it does embossing folders too, which I love. And I'm going to show you the embossing folders in a little bit. Later, Stampin' Up! Came out with these new platforms, and these had an extra, I don't think you can see it in this video. Maybe you can a little bit. You can kind of see an extra panel down the center section here. And that helped with cutting in the middle. Again, you used the same thing with the 2 clear plates. Did a better job of cutting, but still not good enough. And when Stampin' Up! Came out with the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, I liked the look of it. I love that it folded up, but do I really need it? They're not super expensive, but they're not exactly cheap either, so it is an investment. And I decided to go ahead and buy it, and I love this machine. So let me turn this one sideways. It has a very similar platform with the two pieces. And these are all numbered now. So this is the number 1 platform, and for die cutting you need to use the number 2 platform. And a clear plate. These plates come nice and super clear, but as soon as you start cutting, you can see even that little tree is cut into here, into this plate, and pretty soon they get very cut up, and so I like to use my cut up plate on the bottom. We'll try those same dies with this machine and see how it does. And I will tell you that, I can't show you, but I can tell you that it feels smoother somehow. You still get some popping and cracking, but maybe not as much. I generally hold it on top, but I've got it sideways right now, so it's kind of awkward to hold it through. So this is going through one time. The open dies almost always cut all the way through on the first time. This one, the whole piece popped out easily. And let's see how we did with this. So these all pop out very easily with just a little rub with my fingers. And so that's a win right there. I am very happy I got this machine. And we've got this little mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Again, I was not sure if I needed this one or not. I am glad I got this one. But the mini one is closer at hand, and if I'm just doing a little die cutting, this works great. The biggest difference is that it's only 3.5 inches wide. It also comes with all the plates you need. This is the same as the main platform, and these are all numbered. This is number 1. You get the 2 clear cutting plates. These are number 2. It's got a number 3 platform, and this is for standard embossing folders. And this one is for the 3D embossing folders. Again, these all have the diagrams on them, the sandwiches. So for die cutting, you need the number 1 plate, a clear plate, a number 2 plate, the cardstock, and the dies. And I just set that down. I should probably mention that there's the die cutting edge and then there's a smooth side, and you do want to have the cutting edge down. The cutting blade always goes toward the cardstock, and another clear plate on top. But just going through one time, and of course the open dies, they cut very easily. Let me see if I can get this open, and again it cuts very well even on these detailed dies the first time through. Depending on what you're doing with it, this one might be enough for you, but if you have a standard card base, it is too wide to go through. Most of our embossing folders are also too wide to go through. We do have some embossing folders that are specially made to fit through here. Currently, we do not have any of the 3D embossing folders, but I expect we will have some in the future. While I've got this one out, let me show you how to emboss with this machine. Again, this one's for the 3D embossing folders. This is a standard embossing folder, so we'll use this one. And it says to use the number 1 platform, the embossing folder with the cardstock. Then you cover it up with the number 3 light gray plate for standard embossing folders. And embossing folders are really beautiful. They don't, my camera does not always pick up, there we go. My camera does not always pick up the embossing, but when you see it in real life, it really is gorgeous. So this little mini machine is fantastic. Again, I keep mine in easy arm's reach, and it's light enough for me to reach out and grab it. It's also great for travel. I wanted to talk about embossing folders. This is my cheat sheet. So I've already talked to you about die cutting. And with the mini die cutting, I've got the little diagram right here. And the standard embossing platform. Again, the 3D embossing folders are not yet available for the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machines. Let me repeat that if you have the old machine or the new machine, they both do the same things. They both do die cutting. If you have old folders from before, they'll work in the new machine. If you have the new folders, they'll work in the old machines. If you need new clear plates, the new clear plates will work just fine in the old machine. But there are some differences. The sandwich is really the same for standard embossing folders. Before I talk about standard embossing folders, I wanted to pull in my catalog. The dies are marked if they work in the mini, but a lot of them will work in the mini even if they're not marked. Like for instance, the layering diorama dies. The largest ones won't fit through the little one, but the smaller ones will. And so they're pretty clearly marked. If you use my stamping case inserts, I have marked the ones that are made for the mini with this kind of purpley circle. And before I move on, you don't ever want to use the mini platforms or mini cutting plates in the big machine. And you'll find embossing folders. These are on page 154 and 155 in the 21-22 annual catalog. So these are the ones for the mini, and they show that same design for the mini. The standard embossing folders are the darker ones, and so all of the minis are the darker ones. So in this catalog, only the animal print and the pretty flowers embossing folders are the standard. Most are the 3D, and they also say 3D on them as part of their name. So, embossing folders. I have a standard embossing folder, and this platform is 6 inches wide, so you have plenty of room for your folders. The platform, you need the number 1 platform. The number 2 die cutting plate is not one that you use for embossing folders, so I'm going to put that away. We have 2 sandwiches for the embossing, the standard one and the 3D. Here's the standard one, so you need this platform. You need a clear plate. You need your embossing folder with the cardstock in it. And you need a clear plate. And you can roll it through. It should go through fairly easily, and you get a beautiful embossing. If you're using the old machine and you want to use these platforms, you can buy them and use them in your old machine. You can use the old hinged multi-purpose plate. If you're using embossing folders, you're going to put things through on tab 1. So let me show you through that. And again, you can mix and match with all of our machines. It's always better to put the hinge through first, so I'm going to turn this upside down for me. And I need a clear plate. And I need my cardstock in my folder. Again, this is on tab 1, so I've got one flap open. The clear plate, the folder, and another plate, and roll it through. If you ever have trouble getting it through, check your platform to make sure it's good. One of the things that can happen is if you get these things in sideways, the platform can actually be rubbing up against the sides of the machines. And so you might need to stop and back up and straighten it out. This platform does a lovely job. And if you have this platform on either machine, same thing. You're going to use a clear plate. You do not use the thin die adapter. You need your folder with the cardstock in it. Hinge side first, and roll it through. And you get a lovely embossing. This is the standard embossing folder, and I've shown a diagram with the new platform, but I have also explained how to work it with the old two-piece platform and the very old multi-purpose hinged platform. I want to say one thing about platforms. We used to sell this magnetic platform. Some people loved this platform and some people hated it. It was always designed for the dies only. It was advised not to use these with the embossing folders, but sometimes you could get away with it. But do not use this with the 3D embossing folders especially. It will not work. So if you're using this kind of platform, no thin die adapter. You need your folder with a piece of cardstock in it. And you need either the number 4 gray specialty plate or the clear blue plate that we sold temporarily. And you get a lovely embossing. If you're using the very old style, the multi-purpose platform, you need to open up your platform all the way and put it in so the hinge goes first, the cardstock in the folder, and the specialty plate, or the clear blue plate. And that does a good job. Now we could compare these. This one didn't feel as tight as the others, and I can see that the impression is not as detailed. If you have the new machine, or if you're using the old machine and the new plates, you're going to need the number 1 platform, your cardstock in the folder, and the number 4 or the clear blue, and roll it through. And this one feels nice and tight, and we get a very nice, I don't know if you can tell the difference on that. The tricky thing is that if you have some of the older thick embossing folders, you may have not the 3D but the dynamic embossing folders, fine print in here. And I don't think that we have done a good enough job of talking about the differences of these old embossing folders. They are way thicker than the standard embossing folders, and they are thicker than the 3D. And I don't know if it shows up, but if you put them on the table so that they're the same height, this one's quite a bit thicker. You may also see 2 logos on this old thick embossing folder, but you can still use these. So these were called dynamic embossing folders. And here are the sandwiches that you need if you are using these older folders. So I've got the new machine on my table here. You need the platform, of course. You need the cardstock in the folder, of course. With this one, you do not use the 4 specialty plate. You use 1 clear plate. You still get a lovely, lovely impression. If you're using the old multi-purpose platform, you again need a clear plate, the folder with the cardstock, and the platform open to tab 1. So this tab is open, showing tab 1. Again, lovely. And if you're using the old green platform, you need your cardstock in the folder, of course. Just the platform and 1 clear plate. And there you go. So come on over to my website and I will have this cheat sheet here for you. And if you want to cut it in half, you can. And I've got all of the numbers for the current products that you can order. And there's one more resource that came out when the new machine first came out. It has answers for about every question you might have. And it talks about all the different plates and platforms. It's got some tips. Again, this does not address the old dynamic embossing folders. So that's why I have this cheat sheet. Happy stamping. Come on over to bevadams.com and you'll see all of these resources and a whole lot more. Here is the web address for this project where you'll find the free detailed directions and links for the products I used. Just click the links and you'll be taken to my online store at Stampin' Up! Also on my website, you can click Home near the top of the page to find lots of resources. Under Shop, you can find the products I offer to make crafting more convenient, how to get free products with my frequent shopper rewards, and a link to my online store at Stampin' Up! Click Inspiration to scroll all my projects back to 2011, most with detailed directions and videos. Though the products in those older projects have been retired, you may find techniques, layouts, and color combinations to inspire you today. If you're new to stamping, you might want to take a look at the basics. You'll find out how to cut card bases and layers, and what's special about Stampin' Up!, and some of my favorite tools. Under Organization, you'll find tons of free resources such as catalog tabs, labels and case inserts, color tools, and much more. You can take a tour of my craft wall. More organization means more time for crafting. Come stamp with me here in Ventura County, California, or get the best deal of all and join my team of crafters. The team is called SIP Together, and it stands for Stamps, Ink, and Paper Together. The team is made of crafters who want to save money on the products they buy, share with a few friends, or grow a business like mine. Be sure to subscribe to my website and on YouTube. Talk to you soon. Bye.